The one big beautiful bill being debated in Congress, vote-a-rama, which is a real thing. Everybody thinks that's a joke. It's really a thing. They have something called vote-a-rama in the Senate. It's happening today. Extending tax cuts. The bill would extend most Trump tax cuts. They're set to expire at the end of December. It continues current tax rates with a top tax rate of 37%, which I still think is outrageous. I don't care how much money you make. I want you to think about 37%. You are working almost 4 months out of the year, right? Well, 3 months out of the year for sure. That's 25%. So you're working January, February, March into April, and more into April, so April almost into May to get to 37%. That's an incredibly high number. And that, to me, I just think is more than, when you put it in numbers like that, there are a couple of things when it comes to taxes I think would be dramatically different. If you, as an employee, had to write a check every month for your portion of your taxes, FICA and everything else, you would you'd be furious, and you'd watch a lot closer at what's happening. There is a huge segment of our society that doesn't pay anything in federal income taxes. They get more back than they put in. Not everybody, but you go and look at how it's broken down. They have successfully used class warfare against people. And I grew up very, very poor. I want to make it clear for people that are new to listening to the show, or if it's only been a couple of years, if you have an idea because of my political leanings that somehow I was a silver spoon kid, I wasn't. I was raised by a single mom. We were very poor for quite a while. My mom just worked her butt off. But I was very fortunate. When I went into work in the trades, I'll tell you, I worked for wealthy people. I worked for successful people that started out as a working class person like I was. And they always gave me the impression that if they could do it, I could do it. I don't understand how you think it's okay to take somebody else's wealth away. We all should pay taxes, but 37%? So if you make $1 million, you think it's okay to take $370,000 from that person, or whatever it ends up being. If your taxable income is $1 million, I just think it's an outrageous amount of money. It boosts defense spending. The Senate bill would appropriate about $157 billion in military spending, including $29 billion for shipbuilding and maritime capabilities. More funding for immigration enforcement. These are just some of the things in the one big beautiful bill. Ending clean energy tax credits. Under the Senate proposal, tax credits for purchasing electric vehicles would end September 30th. Wind and solar projects would qualify for current tax incentives only if they go online by December 31st of 2027. In other words, the projects would have to get going. Some tax changes proposed in the campaign trail or in the Senate bill. They include no tax on tips, deductions of up to $25,000 per year per person, and no tax on overtime deductions capped at $12,500 for individuals or $25,000 for married couples. The bill proposes a $10,000 deduction for auto loan interest on new U.S.-made cars. All of these things I think are great incentives for people. An alternative to the no tax on Social Security. It proposes a $6,000 per person tax deduction for seniors, with a maximum deduction starts phasing down once the income surpasses $75,000 per person. Cutting Medicaid spending. They would require an 80 hours a month for adults with limits on Medicaid provider taxes. It allows states to secure more federal funds. This is what they're debating on Capitol Hill. As of my last look, and I'm going to look again just to verify where it is, when looking at the stock markets today and where we are on Wall Street, Wall Street's been responding fairly positively, mostly flat, less than 0.5 percentage point in gains on the Dow and 0.25 percentage point on the S&P and the NASDAQ, but all are in the positive. But the NASDAQ and the S&P are at record highs. So Wall Street seems to be thinking we're going to get deals done. As a matter of fact, Canada is coming back to the table over the weekend or on Friday. It was dropped that the Trump administration said they're pulling out of negotiations with Canada. and that and Canada came back over the weekend and has made some concessions, and they're coming back to the table. There is a new study that's been published on oil and gas in public lands, including Arizona, and this has to do with us being more energy independent. And I think energy independence, energy has been the key, my lifetime, your lifetime, whether you like it or not. Energy has been the key to our economy, and that's just my humble opinion. In the 1970s, and again, I was from a small child's perspective, I watched the tragedy that was the Carter administration economically. Jimmy Carter was a good man. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that he was a great human being, but he was not a good president. The false oil shortage and gas shortage that we had, the rationing of gasoline, the interest rates mortgage rates were like credit card interest rates. It was an outrageous time in our society. Outrageous. And for those days, a lot of it was connected. If you look at what happened during the Biden administration, there was a lot of similarities in the assault on the oil companies. They go hand in hand. The world is going to need natural resources. We are going to need natural gas. We are going to need petroleum. We need oil for our fuel, but there's almost nothing that you touch that isn't petroleum-based or have some kind of petroleum in it. So we continued for a long time to allow those other nations, the OPEC plus nations, we allowed them to be the ones that produced and controlled the world's oil markets. And when we are in control, when we are energy independent, and what's interesting is the haters, the people that don't like this administration and didn't like the fact that I supported Trump or questioned what Biden was doing, started sending me the media stories that said we are producing more oil now under the Biden administration than we ever have before. And isn't it fascinating? That was 100% true. But what happened was the Biden administration reversed their policies on energy production in many ways, because when their onslaught against, when he said no more drilling onshore, no more drilling offshore, when he made those statements, when they got rid of pipelines that were getting ready to deliver into the U.S., they were building those pipelines. And when those projects were killed, we saw energy prices set records. Gasoline, heating oil, diesel set records. And then they very quietly started to ease up and reverse those policies. So you are defeating your own argument with your anti-energy, anti-oil, anti-petroleum stance, because that's what was happening. So the one big beautiful bill, we'll see in the end, nothing is perfect. There's a lot about this that people do not like, but solidifying and making permanent the tax cuts, getting these deals done so that we know we have confidence in where the economy is going with tariffs and everything else, I think is going to be very, very critical.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.